Natural selection. Observe the organism on the left. How is this tiny deer mouse able to survive in the forest? Notice how the mouse's dark gray fur color allows it to blend in with the trees. This allows the deer mouse to easily hide from predators. Now observe the organism on the right. Deer mice that live in the desert of Joshua Tree National Park are mostly a lighter gray and tan color. How did each population shift toward more individuals that easily blend into their environment? Over many years, a process called natural selection led to these shifts. Deer mouse in a forest ecosystem, deer mouse in a desert ecosystem. Natural selection is a gradual process that results in variation of inherited traits becoming either more or less common in a population. A population is made up of different generations. A generation includes all the individual organisms of the population that are born and live at a specific time. For natural selection to occur in a population, there must be genetic variation in that population. Also, different inherited trait variations called phenotypes must enable individuals to have different chances of survival and reproduction. Survival is defined as the state of continuing to live, and reproduction involves the passing of genes, and therefore traits to offspring. Some phenotypes increase an individual's chance of survival. Other phenotypes decrease an individual's chance of survival. Trait variations that help individuals survive in a specific environment are called adaptations. A trait variation that is an adaptation in one environment could have a negative effect in another environment. For example, the darker gray fur color is an adaptation for the deer mouse population that lives in the forest. However, this darker color would not help the deer mouse population in Joshua Tree National Park blend into their surroundings. Individuals with adaptations for an environment are more likely to survive and reproduce. When these individuals reproduce, they can pass their genes to their offspring. Over many generations, this could cause adaptations to increase in the population and trait variations that are not adaptations to decrease in the population. If there is no genetic variation in a population, all the individuals have the same phenotype. In this case, the population cannot shift in the event of a change to the environment. Natural selection happens at the population level, not at the individual level. In most cases, individuals can't change their inherited traits. Mutations are random. An individual can't choose to have a mutation because it would help them survive or reproduce. Stop and check. Recall the peppered moth simulation from the Explore lesson. Which phenotype is an adaptation in an environment with light-colored trees? Which phenotype is an adaptation in an environment with dark-colored trees? Examples of natural selection in populations. Giant tortoise. Every plant and animal depends on its traits to survive. Survival and reproduction may include getting food, building homes, and attracting mates. Take the giant tortoises on the Galapagos Islands as an example. If a short-necked tortoise lives on an island with fruit located at a high level, will the short-necked tortoise survive? Most likely, it will not, because it will not be able to reach the food it needs to survive. If all the short-necked tortoises die and the long-necked tortoises survive, then over time, only the long-necked variation will be passed down to offspring. Organisms that are not well adapted to their environment, for whatever reason, will have less of a chance of surviving and reproducing. Arctic hare. In the Arctic, dark fur would make an Arctic hare easy for foxes to spot and catch in the snow. Hares with white fur are more difficult for foxes and other predators to locate against the white snow. So white fur is a beneficial trait variation in the Arctic. This trait improves the chance that a hare will survive, reproduce, and pass the genes for white fur onto its offspring. Because of the process of natural selection, hares with dark fur will become uncommon in a population of Arctic hares over time. The human body is the environment for many different species of bacteria. Just like animals, natural selection of bacteria happens at the population level. all members of a population are the same species. Staphylococcus aureus, or S. aureus, is a bacteria commonly found in the human body. This bacteria typically lives on our skin, nose, or throat. Most of the time in the healthy human body, S. aureus is not harmful. Sometimes this bacteria causes mild skin infections, and under certain conditions, it is possible for S. aureus to cause serious infections that can affect the bloodstream, lungs, and heart. Scanning electron micrograph of Staphylococcus aureus with color added. Imagine a patient developed a lung infection from S. aureus. The diagram that follows shows how the bacteria's environment, the patient's body, changes when the patient takes an antibiotic called methicillin. S. aureus's environment, or patient's body, before taking methicillin. S. aureus's environment after taking methicillin. Several generations later, key, antibiotic resistance level, low, high. Before the patient takes the antibiotic methicillin, all of the bacteria can survive in the environment no matter what antibiotic resistance level trait they have. Once the environment changes by taking the antibiotic, only the bacteria with the two highest resistance levels can survive. Over time, only the methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus bacteria with the highest resistance levels exist in the population. Note: this diagram should be labeled S. aureus's population, not its environment. Stop and check. What are some examples of things organisms need to do to survive and reproduce? Why did the Arctic hare population have more individuals with white fur over time? How does taking an antibiotic change the environment for S. aureus?